What's going on, guys and gals? Bonafide Hustler here, and I'm here with my co-host, Steve Raiken. What's up, man?
Hey, man, having a great night so far. Third time getting on live today. So, man, still full of energy. It's a lot of fun.
Yep, this is my second time live today, and today we're going to be talking about thrift store tips for a profitable haul. You're looking at the Wednesday night or Wednesday evening green room hangout. So, what is the green room? Go check it out. Second link down below. And as we talk about these thrift store kind of tips, I want you to be thinking, what kind of items should I start buying, this and that, and I'll have something for you guys mid-show. But anyways, in this show, we're going to be covering all kinds of different things, and some of the stuff might be a little bit rehashed, but some of it definitely is stuff that I'm adopting towards my new 2018 goal of 200 super amazing quality listings in my eBay store. So I really can't afford to A, waste time, B, buy crappy items, and C, go to bad thrift stores. So I'm going to be basically divulging essentially a thrift store plan for you guys. And while we're on the topic of thrift stores, tomorrow, Steve, there's something going down in Connecticut, isn't there?
Yeah, we are hosting a free Connecticut thrifting meetup. So this is I think it's our third or fourth one. It's 100% free. So if you're in the Connecticut area, the first thrift store we're meeting up is in Manchester, Connecticut at 9 in the morning. It's a Goodwill. Otherwise, maybe I'll hook you up with a link afterwards, Chris, and people could join the private group where we give like details of the route and where we're going. But it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's, we've hosted multiple green room hangouts, and it's very, very valuable when you meet up with other resellers, because as egotistical as we might like to think, and think we know it all, there's just so much to learn from other people that it's a very powerful kind of situation when you get around people. So yeah, it's going down tomorrow.
Cool. And there should be also one in Austin, Texas, around the 12th and 13th. I have to make sure I get a couple things nailed down. But I'm thinking around the 12th or 13th, kind of like Steve Raiken's meetup, starting at 9, probably ending around 2 or 3 with a lunch in the middle. So anyways, and I'll definitely be, planning the route and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's start with the show and the content, because it's really important to get right into it. Here's some questions. There's some questions and some remarks that I will get to. So the very first question really is, when you're dealing with a thrift store strategy or some thrift store tips, you got to start asking yourself, what's the difference between corporate thrift stores and mom and pop thrift stores? Steve, where you're from, and I can imagine everywhere. I mean, because I've been to so many cities across America, and I've been thrifting in these cities. But Steve, in your city, do you ever see mom and pop thrift stores, or is it all corporate thrift stores where you live?
2 to 3 years ago, there were a couple of them kind of seated around, but they've all slowly started closing down, which is interesting. So I don't have a ton of them around me. Actually, thinking of it, I don't even know of my closest one. They've all kind of gone under.
Yeah, it's tough, man, because here's the thing. Mom and pop thrift stores versus corporate thrift stores. Mom and pop thrift stores are essentially people like you and me, right? They're resellers. I mean, they really are.
Or
I mean,
they're funded by like a hospital or something like
right.
that.
But typically they're resellers, and typically they kind of know item values, and what you might see in the store could be double listed. What you see in their actual store could be the leftovers of all the stuff that they didn't want to put on eBay. So you have to be careful about that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I really dislike doing, and I've disliked this for a very long time, is I really don't like buying from other resellers, because I have to start asking myself, like, why are they, have you ever got out to a garage sale, Steve, and you go there and it's like everything's really organized, and sometimes there's a piece of paper on top of some items and it shows like an eBay price.
Sold listing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like, and everything's super organized, and everything, some of the stuff's like, a lot of things are in box, and a lot of the same things, like maybe 4 toasters in a box, and you start to realize, wait a minute, this isn't a clearance like garage sale or someone's trying to clear out their house. This is a reseller trying to get rid of some of their bad inventory. And so that's one of the main reasons I don't like to deal with other resellers, is because I have to ask that question to myself. If it wasn't worth someone else's time, why would it be worth my time? And I consider my time very valuable. So when it comes to mom and pop or resale shops, I typically don't like to go into them. So when it comes to corporate stores, that's a different story. Corporate stores, there are a lot of places where the items can slip through the cracks, right, Steve? Where an item can be in the sorting facility in the back, and someone that's just, maybe they're getting paid minimum wage, maybe they're not getting paid anything, maybe they get to just sleep in the back, because some of these places, really bring people off the streets, give them jobs, and then get them trained up to be in normal life again. And so these people really don't have any vested interest sometimes in the items. And so a lot of things just go right under the radar. I mean, every single time out of the thrift store, anytime I really find something that's valuable, a lot of times that's just something that went under the radar, something they didn't know about. And that's the reason why I like corporate thrift stores a whole bunch, is because they just have such a fast turn of people in the back that they just don't have that vested interest to find all the really good items, right? They know a couple things, like certain polo this or that, or they know Lululemon and they bring it to the front, or some really fancy Wilson jacket or something. But for the most part, they don't have the interest to really hunt and really cross-check, versus, and they all have lists in the back. Raiken, did you know that? In the back of thrift stores, they all have lists. They all have certain protocols to follow, but
yeah, especially like the Savers, they're very, very systemized over there. I mean, they've got a whole like system in terms of like how to research, how to price history. So yeah, I mean, one thing I want to mention is, each store has its own personality. So whether you're new to town or you're traveling or you're just starting to discover your thrift stores, you got to get to know them. They all have their own personality, and you're going to find out really quick certain days that are good, certain stores that are good. It's unique each time.
Yeah, it definitely is. I remember when we were in Las Vegas, we went to a thrift store with Jason T. Smith. Remember that? And he was like, "We're going to go to one in the hood." And it's this one where like, all kinds of bad things happen in front of it. And he told us all these cool stories. But we went into that thrift store. It was actually like really good. It was like it was nice. It was big and it had a lot of stuff in there. So you can't just write off a thrift store because it's, in a bad area of town or something like that. You really have, like Raiken said, you have to go visit these places. They all have their kind of own thing going on. So anyways, that's the conclusion really. And the very first tip I can give you is really, if you have a chance and you have enough corporate thrift stores around you, I personally would just go to more of those. You can go to other places like Habitat for Humanities. What's another one out there? St. Vincent's, right?
Yeah. I don't have a lot. I mean, I have like literally, it's like, I'm in Connecticut, Goodwill, Savers, and a couple Salvation Armies, but they're slowly but surely closing down or consolidating.
Yeah, I feel like Savers is really giving Goodwill a run for their money. Like, I really do. Savers is over here in Austin is just doing nothing but amazing things. And they always have really good stuff, always.
Savers is always bigger, but there's not as many of them, right? You might find 3 Goodwills in the area, but then just 1 Savers.
Exactly. Yeah, not as many, and you're totally right about that. But both are corporate stores. For me, I feel as if the Savers just has better prices. I don't know why. Higher quality goods, better prices. And they have that 30% off coupon that if you're lucky enough to get that and know how to get it, that's cool. But almost all the times you can get a 20% discount or a 10% discount. I mean, if you're paying full price at a Savers, it better be something really, really cheap, because there's so many ways to get discounts at Savers. There really is.
When I went to Baltimore out there, because most places I traveled like the entire like southern portion of the country. I hit up like 20 different states, maybe more or less. But you find a Savers like here or there. They're not like all over the place for the most part. Over in Baltimore, there's like 6 of them within like, I don't know if it's like 10 miles, but it's like this big circle. It was so fun. And a lot of them are in the hood, right? So there's money to be made in the hood on your point. A lot of people are scared to walk into the hood or into a store that's in a lower income area, but it's hit or miss as well with those. Sometimes it's jackpot city. Other times it's not.
Yeah. So let's go into the number 2 thing, which is know about all the discounts for the week, the next week, the special cards, maybe the loyalty program. What do you think about that, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, over here, I don't know what your deals are, but over here at our Goodwill, every day there's a color, and you've got to know 2 things, right? You've got to know what's the newest color, because that's the fresh inventory that hasn't been picked over yet. So if you're like a bookseller, you don't want to focus on like really any other color except the new one, because that's fresh and people haven't picked over it. And then you need to know the one that's half off. So Goodwill, every week they rotate a color. There's like 5 different colors. So that's important. What about you in your area? Do you have any special like reoccurring deals that you have to be on the lookout for, like color systems or anything?
Yeah, we definitely have color systems. There are loyalty programs there with Savers. There are If you take a survey, I think with Savers, you stand a chance to win like $500. If you take a survey with a Goodwill receipt, you can get 10% off
And
guaranteed
if you
for your next
donate
item.
too,
If you donate, you can get anywhere between 10 and 30% off in Savers. So yeah, if you're going to donate, what I have found across America is donate at Savers, don't donate to Goodwill. But they just give you perks to come back. Goodwill sometimes will have, like if you spend an extra $3 now, you get a ScratchOff ticket. The ScratchOff ticket will have between 10 and 30% off, or it can have $100 like voucher right on it.
In our area, if you spend $20, you save 5%. So it's not huge.
Yeah, but that can help with taxes, though. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and in addition, I don't know at your thrift stores if anybody has a birthday coming up. Goodwill, I believe they give, I think it's a 25% off discount if it's your birthday. So
that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That one I didn't know.
But that,
go ahead.
That might just be my area, so you have to check your area.
Right. Well, the reason why you want to, definitely look for savings and keep it at the forefront of your head or your mind is because you want your money to go further. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, how many times there's so many people that are like, you know what, I want to do more things, or I want to buy this bike, or I want to go on a vacation. I want to get more in shape, but I can't afford a gym membership. All these little things that if you were to keep saving money at the forefront of any time that you go into a thrift store, by the end of the year, you will have over and beyond all the things that you need to take that vacation, to get that gym membership, to eat better foods. For example, like all these people, there's so many people that don't realize that even a 10% discount or a 5% discount adds up. Like transaction over transaction times 365 days in a year, that stuff adds up very, very, very quickly. A lot of people out there, they get credit card points like I get 2% back or 4% back. That's wonderful, but we're talking about the least. The least savings that you can get is like 5% at a Goodwill or whatever, 10% of the Savers, 30% of the Savers. I mean, those are big, big numbers. If any credit card company out there was to offer 10% cash back or 20 or 30% cash back, do you know how many people would go crazy? So why do people go crazy over 2 and 4%? But when it comes to a mandatory 10% and you just have to fill out a survey, like they get all lazy and they don't want to do it, or they don't want to take the time to learn the actual discount of the week, the color of the week, or is there a military senior discount or a student discount at that store? All these kind of little things add up to the big thing at the end,
Hey, I was just thinking while you were naming off all those really good ideas, one thing that I feel a lot of people miss out on is at Savers, and you might want to check your Savers, the receipts. I think it's 1 of every 5 customers. The receipt shoots out a $2 savings if you spend $5, I believe.
Yeah. It is that one. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's it. But it like kind of blends in, and if you just throw your receipt in your pocket, you wouldn't know. That adds up.
Right, it does, because if an item's $5, it's all of a sudden $3, right? Like there are a lot of interesting things that you can find out of these things, but you have to understand that anytime you go into a thrift store, you should always be thinking like, what's the savings that I can definitely get today? And maybe you have your arm to the teeth with a bunch of 20 and 30% off coupons in your wallet, like a lot of people are. But know when to use them too. Don't be using a 30% off coupon with a $5 item when you need to be using that on a $30 haul or a $50 haul or a $100 haul. Does that make sense? So it should. But yeah, so I want to talk about number 3 here. This is so broad, so we're going to try to attack this really quickly. But what sections are most profitable in a thrift store? And this one just has so many answers that can go with it. And the most obvious one is it really depends on what you're super, super good at, right? But there are definitely dedicated places in a thrift store where you should be looking, especially if you're a beginner, to start finding profitable items to flip on eBay or local markets. What are some of those places, Steve? Electronics are definitely one of those places, right?
Yeah, another place that I love is the board game and puzzle section for anything sealed brand new. It's just such easy money.
And it's really easy to see because you're just looking for a reflective piece of plastic, amongst the crowd of whatever is there. It's super easy. Yeah, that is true. I like sporting goods. I like to check out outerwear, both female and male. Shoes. Yeah. Yep. Shoes, some of the books, hats, bags, and toys. Hats, bags, and toys. I knew you were going to
say bags because that's very
bags are the best, man. Bags are super under the radar, man. Oh, man.
I love books. I love looking for the textbooks. You don't have to go through a million books, but just look for the big fat ones made by Pearson, Wiley. and give those a quick scan, because that could be 50, 60 bucks, like really easy.
Right. Those Pearson ones, aren't those like the college textbook kind of things? Yes or
Yep.
no?
Yep. So, the nursing books, the accounting books, the biology, chemistry, all those types of books. I mean, $150, $200 the students have to pay for them new. A lot of times you could sell them 50, 60, $80.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. So let's talk about how to prevent bad buys real quick here. Because this is really, I mean, we're in the game of making money, right? Getting an item, bringing it home, assuming the research is done, marketing the item, packaging the item, sending the item off. That's pretty much it, right? So you can make money two ways in this game, right? One is to make really amazing hustles, and the other way is to tighten up the bad buying decisions, correct? So if you can tighten up the bad buys, which is basically death piles and stuff you're not excited to flip, then you've made money there too, right? Because a lot of times when death piles get too outrageous, or you're missing a remote control for a VCR and you're like, I'm never going to order it, I'm never going to test it out, that's just money sitting on the ground. Like, you're literally, like, once you donate it, it's like just handing $5 to Savers or handing $5 to Goodwill. So you may as well try to limit that as much as you can. So let's talk about how to prevent bad buys real quick in this next section. What are one of the ways that you prevent bad buys, Steve?
Well, you definitely want to scan your item thoroughly and make sure that, for example, if you're maybe buying shoes, one thing that Tino taught me is giving the bin test to make sure it doesn't crack. If you're picking up a sweater or a shirt or a clothing item in general, looking to make sure all the buttons are attached, there's no holes. Maybe you don't want to put your face up to it, but make sure it doesn't reek of cigarettes, because that's going to be a problem when you get home, and it's just going to have you ever brought an item home that smelled like cigarettes? It just like infects everything.
Yeah, it's usually an item that came from a garage sale. Like, it's something like I'm putting a pile of stuff together, and then I buy it, I bundle and everything. I bring it in my car, and I don't really notice it until I get home, and I'm separating the items from the pile away from each other. And that's when it you can tell, right? I have an item haul right here that I showed yesterday, right? And I didn't notice this until every item came out of like the box that they were all kind of together with. But these shoes right here, right? Check this out. Watch this live on video. They smell so good. That's the thing. These things smell,
whose foot was in there?
Check this out, dude. These things right here, they smell like they came out of a cologne department of a Nordstrom. Like, that smell when you go in the cologne department or the men's department of Nordstrom?
Hold on, let me smell. Put it up to the screen.
Right, here, smell it.
Ooh, wow.
I told you, dude.
I was getting ready to do like the Doppio.
Man, my whole room smells good because this shoe is here. Like, I came into my office today and I was like, damn, it smells good in here. And I realized, oh, the shoe is still on the desk, right? So anyways, it smelled terrific. I could not believe it, but I didn't know it until I brought it home, right? It had to be separated from every other item that was in my truck.
Chris, or you're gonna say,
that's one of the things that I might have to do, because we're talking about shoes that smell or things that smell and bend test, whatever. But what happens if something smells too good? is what Steve is saying. Like, I mean, it's still a smell, correct? Some people are completely repulsed from perfumes, colognes, things that smell too good. Some people hate those things, right? Like, I hate the smell of potpourri, but potpourri to a lot of people smells good. Does that make sense? So anyway, there's always something goofy that goes on the green room hangouts, and I think that was definitely the moment right there.
Can I ask you something? You got to answer it honestly.
Yeah.
I remember one time I went to a garage sale and I picked up an Under Armour hat, and it was black, and I loved it so much, but it stunk of cigarettes. And I got to tell you something live on air.
Yeah, you left it in my house, I think, didn't you? I
purposely left it in your garage.
I know.
Did you ever find it?
I totally remember. Yeah, I was like, what is this doing here? And it was like the worst. It wasn't the greatest hat anyway. And I was like, why did you buy this?
What did you do with it though?
Oh, I totally donated it. I was like, no. But he left it at my house. I'm not even kidding.
I was like packing my bags, getting ready to leave, and it like looked at me, and I looked at it, and I'm just like, peace.
Left it in my garage, actually. That's where I found it. No, actually, it was in the bedroom. Sorry. But then it made its way to the garage, and then it was in a box. Okay. So here's the thing that's really interesting. And I rethought this again the other day, but I've been a huge proponent on this for the past however many years I've been thrifting. But whenever you're in a line to check out, do not be on your phone. Like, rescan all your items for flaws and make 100% sure that the markets that you evaluated your items on are the markets you want to go forward with, and do extra homework right there in line, because there's nothing worse than being in line with some items that really maybe don't need to be bought, but you're just sitting there on your phone on Facebook or Instagram, and and then you realize it when you get home, and then all of a sudden now it becomes a chore because you have to return an item, or you have to write that item completely off, and that sucks. So yeah, I mean, I don't ever try to get in lines too much, but the other day I was in a line for like a split second, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is going on? So I just started like looking at all my goods, and just making 100% sure that I wanted
You'll
them.
catch yourself sometimes too.
Oh,
It's amazing.
absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Johansson says, do you have any plans going to Europe thrifting? Man, I would love to just go see every single state in the USA thrifting, right? So Europe is just a whole nother ball game. Yeah, maybe one day I'll just have just the funds to just jet away and just thrift wherever I want. But currently, right now, I don't. And if I did, I would pay my house off first, like, essentially. So anyway, okay, so let's talk about now a couple other things. So another way you can prevent bad buys, Steve, is you can definitely know your avenue or avenues that you're going to sell these items on, right? Because some people are like, oh my God, it's super awesome, like I'm going to get it. And then they don't realize maybe sometimes the size or the market is just not there where they thought it was going to be there. What'd you say?
I have a great example.
Go for it.
Just the other day, I was in Goodwill and I was outside of my lane. I was in an avenue I wasn't familiar with. And it was this kind of little doll, but it was like so high. It was like really high quality. It was only like a couple bucks. And it had this signature on it, but there's like no way in a million years to know what that signature said. It was like so tiny. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this thing's going to definitely end up in a death pile. Like, I already know it's going to end up in a death pile. And I'm like, do I really want to waste $4 right now when I could easily invest it in books or easily invest it in a board game and like 10x my money or 5x my money? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pass on it. Maybe I'm going to lose money, but I already have plenty of inventory. So that was kind of like an example. Like, I knew my lane and I was like out of it too much. And I'm like, it's just not worth the time. And I just passed on it. It didn't hurt me.
Yeah, and a lot of people sometimes don't understand that logic, is because they're like, well, if it's profitable, why didn't you pick it up? It's because you know what your time's worth, and you know your propensity towards executing that thing from point A to point B. And you already said it, I already know it's going to be on a death pile. That's not point B. Point B is to the seller's hands, right? Point B is not death pile. If point B is your death pile, you should never pick up the item, ever. But yeah, you have to get it from point A to point B, and that is what you get paid for as a reseller, just so you know. Okay, so another thing that you want to definitely know and how to prevent bad buys is you want to resist buying tons of personal kept items. I find myself all the time like, oh man, that's my size. Like, I could totally, and you kind of want to limit that out, because for me here in Austin, Texas, if you saw my outerwear closet, you would be like, no way. Like, it's the coolest. There's so much good
stuff. Patagonias.
There's so much good stuff in there. There's so much. But here's the kicker, right? Austin is like 80 to 100 degrees at least 8 or 9 months out of the year, maybe 10 months out of the year.
What are you doing with that?
Oh, totally. Like, I looked in my closet the other day and I was like, man, I have 2 or 3 North Face Denali's in every color. Like, oh, these don't need to be here. I don't care about polar fleeces.
Why shouldn't people go out there and hoard, stuff?
It doesn't do any good. Like, look, I'm showing you myself as an example. And I don't have a lot of this going on, right? I have some extra shoes that I never wear, and I have definitely some jackets I don't ever wear. But I really try to limit what I buy for my personal use to an extreme minimum, right? Like, so you have to start thinking about that kind of stuff. There's certain things that you have to buy like full price, obviously, like underwear and socks, maybe gym shorts and things. But outside of that, you really need to start thrifting for yourself, but don't go overboard thrifting for yourself. It's important to buy used goods instead of new goods as much as possible, because that's another way you can do really cool stuff with your money, make your money last longer in life, right? Okay, so another way you can prevent bad buys, now, assuming that you've bought the item, at least if you know the store's return policy before you're about to get into the bad buy, that could be kind of interesting, right? Because if the electronic doesn't work suddenly, then you can bring it back and you get 7-day store credit or whatever it is. They give you a little card with some credit on there. If there's a return policy, at least that can help. But that means you still have to go back to the store and return the item. And for some people that are more rural based, this might not be something they can do. For someone like me, I got Goodwills and Savers and all these kind of things like really close to the house. So if I need to return something, which I rarely ever do because I don't ever get into bad buys, hardly ever, but I can do it. Like it's close to the house. Let's read off some comments, Raiken, from the feed. See any you want to read off? I'm going to read off one from Deb Motaz right here. Hoarding is a terrible idea. It's very stressful and it's overwhelming. What do you got, man? Here's one.
Sorry,
I'll read one more. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Here's one I want to read off real quick. I always want to pay attention to the feed because you guys definitely help us out here, keeping the feed awesome. Mark 1, NYC. Getting the item to the customer is not a problem. The after is the worst. Yeah, you know, if you have quality, if you've hustled really amazing quality items and you haven't misled anybody through pictures or the description field on eBay, the after should be a cake. It should be a cakewalk. I can't tell you how many. I mean, I don't ever get people saying. I hardly get returns. You know, if you buy amazing marketable items, the people are going to be fighting for the item. They're going to be wanting it, and if it goes on sale, they're going to want it even more, right? So you got to source amazing items. If you get run-of-the-mill items, then someone's going to think when they buy your item, like, oh, this is not what I thought. I can just go get another one real quick on eBay. So they're going to want to return it.
I used to sell. Back when I was a full-time clothing seller, I had over 1,000 clothing items in my inventory. I would pick up and sell damaged clothing items. And over time, I just said, you want to know what? It's not worth it because the returns were too high. People weren't happy. Like even feedbacks were kind of like mediocre. And I asked myself, is it really worth my time? So, I mean, there's an ask for every seat, right? There's business models that are built on selling stuff that's not very desirable. But I don't know. I prefer to have items that move quickly and customers are happy.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I'm sidetracked a little bit, Raiken, because Oreo Kid had a comment that says, Bonafide Hustler looks like Jay-Z. and then Deb Motaz, Oreo Kid, Bonafide looks nothing like Jay-Z. I thought it was kind of funny. Anyway, I don't know where that came from. But anyways, shout out to Oreo Kid. He's definitely one of the people.
Oreo Kid, man, representing. Good to see
he always
Oreo
represents
Kid,
in the feeds, man.
You know, Oreo Kid is representing Canada.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've always known that. We've known that for years, actually.
He's a good guy. I like him a lot.
Okay, so let's talk about now number 5, merging thrifting with your weekly life. I think this is really interesting because sometimes people go on dedicated thrift runs, and I get it. Like I get it, but typically when I do a dedicated thrift run or something like I'm merging USPS with there, UPS in there, my antique mall, I am merging the whole thing together close to a Starbucks that I can study at. Those kind of things. So pop in whenever you're close to a thrift store. This is really important. It's like the rule of proximity. I've talked about it 5 years ago, 6 years ago on my channel. If you have a second to spare, pop in, right? Pop in if your schedule's not super constrained, and it never should be. Like if you have such a constrained schedule, you are going to drive yourself crazy and you're going to stress yourself out. Raiken, case in point. Remember the meetups, the first 2 and 3 meetups that we ever had?
Jeez.
Do you remember the itinerary that I would build?
Oh yeah, man. It was an itinerary for like the President of the United States.
Like literally there was like eat from like 12 to 1, from 1 to 2, this thrift store. From
it was a Gary Vee schedule.
It was unbelievable. And it never went on track. And we were always like kind of late to certain things. And it was so embarrassing. But we still pulled off really good meetups. Don't get me wrong. But the schedule, it took me a couple years. And seeing the effect on Raiken and Young at the time and Eric, seeing that and going, this isn't good, like at all. And it wasn't good to me either. I just wanted to over deliver. And that's the problem, is I really screwed a lot of things up in some of those first meetups.
It's all good. It was a lot of fun though, man. Overall, I think you're being hard on yourself. It was a good experience. Like you said, you wanted to give people a good time and nobody left saying, oh boy, we came all this way and there was nothing to do. It was like, oh boy, like, can I take a nap? I'm like, don't know. I don't know how to relax. We're moving so much.
Yeah, that was a really funny thing. And I will say on meetup number 3, Raiken did implode on a Saturday morning.
Bring this up, dude.
He imploded on a Saturday morning after the garage sale caravan. I know exactly where I was in Austin, Texas when the implosion happened. I know the left turn I made off of Palm Springs Road right when it happened. And I remember Eric laughing hysterically, myself laughing hysterically, and Raiken being so mad at us. But, that just goes to show you.
It was fun.
It goes to show you that you never want your schedule to be super, super tight. And if you get a kind of a little bit looser schedule, then you can afford to do some cool things like pop into some proximity-based thrift stores, or someone like Mallow Jimmy in Houston, for example, like on a lunch break, instead of sitting at the office or something with his colleagues and having lunch, he actually blasts out of the office, eats on the run, and goes to a couple of Goodwills that are close to his work. That's pretty cool, you know?
I'd like to say, though, you got to understand where you live. Not everybody, like Austin, Texas, where you live, Chris, you are blessed with an abundant amount of thrift stores. Probably the most amount of thrift stores I've ever seen in an area. I didn't really thrift Houston that much. You have a lot. Granted, you have a crap load of traffic as well. But in my area, literally where I live, there's only a couple thrift stores, or else I have to like kind of go out of town. And then everything kind of gets like, it's like for me personally, I only really have 2 thrift stores now that I could hit because they're all closing down, or I have to cross through these busy highways. So either way, the point being is know your area, right? Know what opportunities you have. Sometimes, like, for example, if you're in a certain part of Austin, you'll hit those. Typically you wouldn't if you're in your area because traffic and stuff. So you've got to know the conditions, the time, where you are, plan things out. You know, what's wrong with going to 10 to 12 thrift stores in a day for 8 or 9 hours? What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
See, I could execute that out because you're right. Like I live in a town where I could merge all those together pretty quickly and still get out before traffic goes nuts. But um, I kind of like, if I'm in a 12 thrift store mode, that's going to take a while. Like I'd much rather be on a much more relaxed 4 to 6 hour thrift store mode.
I don't have fun anymore after 3 or 4 hours of thrifting. My first year or 2 I did, but now that I've been in the game for a long time, people might be thinking, really, Raiken profit? Like, aren't you just love it? Like after 3 to 4 hours, I'm kind of sick of it, to be 100% honest with you. I don't know if you feel.
No, I'm the same exact way. It all depends on the circumstances. If my brother's with me, wife's with me, I could probably do 3 or 4 hours, no problem. But the circumstances, like a solo trip, then yeah, I'm gonna want to do what I call hot shots, right? And those are like 1 to 2 hour, like super fast, like 3 to 4 stores, and just look for exactly what I want to find. Not spend too much time inside the store researching anything. Just go in, look for amazing deals that I can put onto my eBay store, and that is pretty much it. I want to read a comment real quick from Gentex512, who probably came in after the announcement was made in the beginning of the broadcast. She says, I don't mean to call you out, but it's about to be February and I haven't heard anything about your Austin local meetup. Okay, so I think it's going to be somewhere around the 12th or 13th of February. I don't know whether to do it during a weekday or doing it really on the weekend. On a Saturday, I'm really busy. On a Sunday, I might not be so busy. I don't know yet. But I want to do it on a day where the most people can turn out. So I don't know if that's a weekday or a weekend yet. So anyways, but I did see your comment, Jen, and it's good to see you in the chat. We got Texas Gal Treasures in the chat too. What's up, Margaret? Good to see you as well. Yeah, so one of the things I want to tell you guys about is just learn a hot shot, right? 3 to 5 basic routes that you can pop in 2 hours or less. So you can do like a north route. Like here in Austin, I have a north route. There's a central route I can do, and then there's also a South Austin route that I can do. And I can pop into 3 and 5 thrift stores within 2 hours, and that is amazing. Like that, like Raiken said, like try to be energized for 4 hours straight, and it is really hard to do. But try being energized for 1 or 2 hours. And have one thing on your mind only, which is make money, pop in and out of the thrift store. Now you're talking like to me, that's a business, right? That's something fun, that's sustainable, and doesn't drag along, right? Okay, so my last thing I wanted to tell you guys was when you're in thrift mode, stay and focus on thrift mode. So really, really important. It's no different than like garage sale season when you have this like sweet spot between 8 and 10 o'clock. Like, don't be going to convenience stores and like, buying food and whatever. Like treat those 2 hours like that's the hour. Those are the hours to make some really good money. Anyways, what else is next, Steve? Let's talk about being prepared before you go into the thrift store. Number 6. What do you have to say about that?
Being prepared before you go into the thrift store. Well, one thing that's important is this is going to be for someone who's brand spanking new. You want to have some knowledge of what products you kind of want to go after, right? I'd recommend if, for example, if you want to learn, maybe you watch some of my videos, and you want to learn about clothing, kind of have a game plan. Like, okay, today I'm going to go try to find some clothing, but don't go everywhere. Start with like long sleeve shirts, or start with jeans, start with a particular niche within a niche. and get your phone prepared. Have your phone on you. Make sure it's charged up. Make sure your eBay app is downloaded. Why? Because when you're going through these clothes, you don't want to just buy based off of memory and guess, oh, I watched this in Raiken's video. No, do not do that. You want to go find an item that looks interesting, look up the brand, look up the style, check out the sold listings, and make an educated decision and kind of run the numbers. Okay, it's going to cost this to buy. I think I could sell it for this. I think I'm going to ship it for that. 10% eBay fees, 3%, PayPal fees. So that's one big thing, kind of being prepared in terms of like, this is for a newbie, really, like having a game plan of what you want to look for.
Right. And one of the things you can do is pre-study before you even get into the thrift store altogether. So perfect time to tout the Green Room Guide. I know a lot of people in the feed have this guide. So this guide right here is the first link down below. It is a free guide. It has 100 amazing items to resell. Definitely want you guys to study this guide because not only will it help you during thrift store season, which is basically now because everyone's donating and clearing out their houses and the spring cleaning things going on, but it's also going to help you with the garage sales, which is right around the corner too. So definitely get that guide and let us know what you think about it. In fact, if you're in the feed right now and you do have the guide or you've been in the green room and you've seen it behind the scenes, just say a Y. Do you have the guide? Yes or no, Y or N. Basically, just put that in the feed. I just want to see who has it, who wants to take action and learn something quickly, because that's what the guide is for. Originally, we were charging money for that guide. Now we're actually giving it for free. So who has it and who has actually found some things from it? So a Y, an N, and maybe something you found from it. Let us know. All right, so being prepared before you go in. If you don't know much, this is really interesting. It's something I did the other day, actually. I'm going to actually do a video on this. But if you don't know much about a certain section, snap a pic of the section, right? And then go home and study it. Like the other day, I actually snapped a pic of the infamous like toaster, coffee maker, panini looking thing, sandwich maker thing. That one section where all these like wires are going all over the place, and it's those gray, black kind of things that are made by Cuisinart, Gevalia, some Starbucks machines. You know what I'm talking about? Like all those doodads that belong in a kitchen, really. And it's such a mystifying thing. I took a picture of it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to actually do a live show about what sells in this one section of the store, because I'm pretty sure if I'm mystified, then a lot of people are mystified too, right? I don't claim to know everything, but I do know a lot. Same with Raiken. But we can always improve. And that's one of the best, I think, characteristics of a good reseller is that they're never thinking that they're completely on top of their game.
Right.
You always want to learn more things. And the hunger is what leads you to being less pressured when you go to garage sales or thrift stores. You just cruise in, walk in like, hell yeah, this is awesome, having a great day. If I find something, that's cool. If I don't, it is not a big deal, right? But the amount of knowledge in your head pre-research is really going to help you out and really streamline things in the store for you. Of course, when you stop and you have to research a couple things, yes, now the time starts to slow down considerably. But the faster you can move through a thrift store, the more money you can make, the more stores you can see. It only makes sense. So tons of people have this guide, by the way. Here's some comments. It's magical. It's very helpful. I need the bag guide. Yeah, I'm gonna try to build that. Don't worry. It was my first book and step into reselling, says Gentex512, who I have hustled with in real life. Fabiola says yes. Susan Redmond, hey, what's up, Susan? Says why.
And how do they get this guide, Chris?
First link down below. It is free. Go check it out. It's always been the first link on all my videos, so definitely go check it out. And plus, if you ever want, wondering about the green room and some cool content behind the scenes, it's definitely in that list too. So it puts you on a cool little email list that you get some really neat things behind the scenes that never make it to YouTube. So go check it out. Really good stuff. Yeah, so there it is. And Ray can just put it in the feed too. So if you don't want to go to the first link, there is a link in the feed right now. Just click on that. Okay, let's talk about, oh yeah, here's another one real quick. Okay, I'm gonna ask a question to the feed. Raiken, you tell me. When you go in a thrift store, do you grab a cart immediately or do you not grab a cart immediately?
I don't grab a cart anymore.
Okay, why is that?
I'm not a full-time clothing seller anymore. that's another reason. In my area, the prices have gone up significantly, so it's a lot harder for me to find 20, 30 items at a time. So if I find a handful of things, I'll just hold it in my arm. And if I have to, I'll go get a cart, but there's no guarantee it's going to be there when I need it. But I'm willing to take the risk. And, I live life on the edge. What can I say?
Yeah, today on my Bonafide Hustler Facebook, you've probably been pretty busy today, Raiken, but some people saw the post. Um, I posted a picture of a cart, okay, and it was in between a row of clothing racks, and I said, "Oh my gosh, today's the best day ever." Upon walking into this Goodwill, I pull this cart out, and it is rolling perfectly, like it's been greased. I mean, it is the most perfect rolling cart, and it's the small things that only resellers would understand. But
Yeah.
holler back at me. I feel like that's such a terrible way to say it. Holler back at me, guys. But yeah, if you know what I'm talking about, it's sometimes the simplest things will make you feel so good. It's like when you get a rattly cart or one where the wheels are all fused and all effed up, then it's no fun at all, right? It's kind of embarrassing, like going strolling down the aisles, but you need the cart, right? So, anyways, kind of funny. Um, so yeah, there's a like no cart, cart. A bunch of people take carts. Didn't you call it carriages one time, Raiken?
That's what they're called in New England.
So people call carts carriages in New England. All of them. Everyone does.
Always, always. Same thing with you guys call them like garage sales and yard sales. We always call them tag sales.
Wow, that is so
Yeah.
crazy. Like it doesn't make any sense. You would think by now, like the U.S. would adopt kind of like this universal language. Like I've heard that in the Northeast, like pop is
I
a
know.
term. Like,
Isn't that weird?
oh man, we would never hear anybody in Texas call it pop. Like no one calls it pop.
Yeah, I don't either.
In some places in the US, like if you say, "Hey, I'll take a Coke," and they go, "What kind?" You're like, "A Sprite." Like that is kind of interesting too. Yeah. So, anyways, um,
Oh, here's a good comment. Yves Tessier says, "I have the Greenham University guide. Found Starbucks City mugs because of it. You want to know? They made some money on that, Chris. You think so?
oh yeah, dude, my brother actually makes money on those things all the time. He finds them all the time too. Philip Voyer says this guide is like the Bible of thrift religion. I thought it was pretty good too. I
Dude, we
like
have
that
to
one.
start charging for that thing again, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we'll start charging in 5 minutes for it. So if you're not getting it for free right now, 5 minutes from now we're gonna raise the price. Let's just tell Eric behind the scenes to raise
Let's
this thing
raise it
right
to
now.
$1.
Yeah. I think $1.50 is more appropriate, man. We really got to get rich off this thing, dude. Um, so okay, so here's one of my last things I want to talk to you guys about when it deals with being prepared before you go in. Have your phone in its own pocket and not tied up with your wallet or your keys. You ever done that before? It's like the simplest things can annoy the hell out of you in a
Yeah,
thrift
my
store.
phone is so big, I don't even think I could fit both of them in the same pocket.
That's true. Like sometimes if you just wear like skinny jeans or like super tight shorts, like then it's just not going to work at all. But if I have detachable keys off a keychain, for example, I will just put the key in my pocket and roll around all day like that. But a lot of times, just keeping the flow right, keeping your energy up, and like I'll take my sunglasses off and leave them in the car because I just don't want to put them on my head or right here, And then you bend down to like look at something, your sunglasses go flying off. I just hate little things like that. And so if you can actually gear yourself up for perfect thrifting, I mean, it does help out in the end. So just think about that kind of stuff. All right, let's talk about Max.
Chris Green? You ever
No.
seen Chris Green gear up for his?
Does he have like a lanyard thing or no? Yes or no?
He's got the lanyard. He's got
wrist thing, right?
The wrist thing. I mean, he is just. If you saw him in the episode of Thrift Hunters with Jason T. Smith, man, it was crazy to see him in action.
Yeah, he turns into like a RoboCop. It turns into like a superhero thrifter, and then he goes home and he becomes a normal dude with a family. Pretty funny. Okay, so some funny comments in the feed. Let's talk about maximizing your time inside the thrift store. Okay, now you're not outside of the thrift store, you're inside the thrift store. Like, how do you maximize your time inside? I'm trying to give you guys like all the tips on this show. If you're enjoying this show, you got to do us one huge favor. Raiken, what is that?
You know what? I think they have to smash that like button.
Boom. All right.
Like RoboCop.
That's right. So yeah, go check it. Oh, here's one. Mark 1 NYC. Why is the Hunter book free? Looks like you guys spent time in making it. The book is free now because it allows us to, quite honestly, like build a much better relationship with all the people that might not know who we are. So it's like in basic marketing, you always want to give immense value like up front. So we'll just be 100% honest with you guys. Immense value is in the form of so many different things.
You explained that great, Chris. I wasn't expecting you to come off with that answer.
No, but I mean, that's how it is. I mean, why mislead anybody on YouTube? Like, this is the reason why we spent a long time making that guide, like 6 weeks or so, like getting all the pictures right, the edit right, the cover right, which is a completely different cover than the original cover. And we did it all. And, we realized, like, how can we get more people to really learn about who we are in the green room and everything? And then we decided, like, what a sacrifice it would be to do this. But then again,
Right.
if we could build that relationship, then that's one of the best ways to do it. So if you guys are ever building a business out there or something like that, you're going to have to do those kind of things. It's no different than Target, like having a loss leader kind of item to get you in the store. And you're like, oh yeah, Target always has the best deals. Then they know that they make all this other money based upon you coming in the store for one item that they're losing money on, right? So yes, we are losing money, just like Target loses money on a toy. Like, we are losing money on this guide, but essentially we're building a relationship behind the scenes with you guys.
Oreo Kid knows the answer. He said it's free because Bonafide has $1 million in his bank.
Hey, there you go. Hey man, I'm telling you, man, this thing, we sold so many copies of this thing. We sold like 500,000 copies of this thing at $40 when it was. I'm just kidding, we did not. But yeah, it's just the honest, and it's the honest.
Did I not get my cut because I didn't hear about that?
Oh, we gave you your cut, dude. I gave it to you, promise. Okay, so let's talk about maximizing your time inside the thrift store. This is one of the things that I like to do. I will fast pass a whole store, right? I will grab stuff and kind of place it in my cart and not really do too much research. I'll grab stuff that I know is kind of cool, place it in my cart. Why? Because Austin's got, competition and stuff. When I go to thrift stores, it's typically during the day. There's a lot of people in thrift stores in Austin, Texas. So I will place it in my cart. So that's what I call a fast pass, is you go around real quick to all these little places and then you pick things quickly and you put it into your cart. Do you ever fast pass, or do you kind of just go to categories?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It depends what I am doing in my business. I bounce back and forth from clothing to books, to retail arbitrage, going to stores like, Walmart, Target. So it just really depends what I'm doing. But yeah, it seems like, now that I think about it, I do the, what's the term you were calling it?
Fast pass? Yeah, fast pass.
I kind of go with that strategy more now because, when you get a certain amount of knowledge, you can typically see it. You don't usually have to dig so much. Like, even with clothing, I don't go through every one. I could kind of just tell by looking. Might be missing out sometimes, right? By not digging fully, right, Chris? I mean, because if you dig long enough, a lot of times you'll find gold. But how much time is that going to cost you?
Right. That's the difference between working on your business and working in your business, right? I and you, or that's the worst freaking English on earth. So you and I, we like to work on our businesses. We like to just do fast passes. We like to do hot shots. And that's what makes us tick, because we're always trying to find the, we know what our time is worth. Whereas maybe sometimes a beginner going into a thrift store will start doing every hanger and looking at every single shirt. Before you know it, you spent an hour in one thrift store looking for something that might yield you $10 in profit. Like, this is not the way to do it. The way to do it is to be pre-educated and to do fast passes, to make hot shot routes, and to really stay educated on the game. Follow your favorite YouTube channels, join paid and free groups, and get educated. Because like anything else, just like when you were driving, like if I was to just put you into a seat of a car and go, okay, drive fast and get here within this amount of time, you wouldn't be able to do it on the first time. But it takes practice to get to be a good driver, and you have to know how the steering works and how the accelerator works. And that's the same thing with thrifting, is you're going to have to do some prep behind the scenes, and you're going to have to get that practice under your belt. But practice does not just mean buying crappy items, right? That's what we did, and we're telling you not to do that. I don't think that's essential anymore. So yeah. So evaluate later before you pay. I like to grid search a store. It's kind of like, when someone goes missing, you always see like those cops walking in a line, they grid search. I like to grid search a store too, go down nearly every single aisle, because sometimes there's so many times, okay, not sometimes, but there are many times where a really amazing item ends up in a different part of the store where it doesn't belong. You ever seen that, Steve, before? I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything.
I always wonder why,
Oh, it's just bonkers. Like, I found a Monopoly game the other day, super close to like the blanket section. I'm like, dude,
was it like
what?
a really good one, like brand new?
Yeah, like right here. It was in a bin that was like completely hidden, but it was this new Monopoly electronic banking. I'm gonna send it off, and I'm gonna.
Hold on, let me guess. 60.
No, on FBA it goes for like 119. So it's a $7 game.
Yeah, it goes for 120.
Look, it's 119 at 240 toy rank, so it's probably somewhere between that 3 and.
Want to hear something crazy?
5-month thing. Yeah.
The thing that always like boggles my mind. Sometimes I'll go into a thrift store and I'll find an item like that Monopoly game, make $100. Do you realize that the people who are working there, Chris, like at the register, and like they're working like 9 hours straight, and like they're not even making that much?
Yeah,
Isn't it like
it gets nuts. The perspective is definitely some
I
of them.
feel like they look at us like we're stupid. Like, oh, look at these rats in here. Like that's the kind of the perception I get sometimes from some people. Like, oh, look at these rats like scavenging around. But I just don't think they realize how much money that we're all making. Like, what do you guys think? What do you think? And what do the folks in the audience think? Do they think we're rats, or do they think we're heroes?
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes on a more basic human level, they're just thankful to have a roof over their head, right? Because a lot of them could be recovering drug addicts. There's some people doing community work there. Some people stay overnight in those places. They're lucky that, you know, they're feeling gratitude in the sense of having food and a roof.
I'm not going towards that angle.
Right.
I'm very grateful for everyone who's there, and I don't mean it like that whatsoever. Yeah. Hopefully it didn't come off like
I've actually, no, I don't think it did, but I just wanted to share my perspective. I have shared what I do with people that work at Goodwill before. I've been spotted at Goodwill from area managers. They're like, holy crap, it's the Bonafide Hustler. Oh my gosh, I watch your videos all the time. And I'm like, cool, who are you? And like, oh, I'm this person. I'm the area manager of this Goodwill. I'm like, oh man, like really? But anyways, it's kind of funny because my next natural question is, all right, like, do you guys watch my videos or Raiken's videos or anybody else's videos in the back of those Goodwills and learn all the cool stuff to like pull from the shelves? But you know, they're not dumb. These Goodwills have eBay and Amazon scanners. They have everything in the back. They know what to like look at, and they know quality things typically, but a lot of things fall through the crack. So let's talk about the grid search real quick, right? Many items end up at other parts of the store. Another way you can make really, once you're inside of a store, maximizing your time is to bring a friend with you, right? You ever brought a friend with you, Raiken, and you just kind of split up? Oh, yeah. And you meet in the middle, like, would you find cool? Like, oh, I don't really want to hustle this. You can have it. I've done that so many times, even with you guys.
I've documented it on like 50 videos.
I know. Yeah, you're right. And so, but yeah, bring a friend. I mean, I'm always like hustling with my brother and like other people that are in the truck with me.
Yeah.
I only go to the front if the line is small. So I look over the, you know, the edges. I'm like, all right, cool. What's the line look like right now? And if it's really long, I don't even spend time in that line. Like I don't go to the line until they get an extra register open or 2 registers open, because it's a waste of time, right? So I actually do a second and a third pass if I see that the line is super, super long. Glass cases. Raiken, you ever find yourself checking out what's inside the glass cases or looking at an auction item, for example?
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't have auctions in our area. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm not going to Connecticut ever, dude.
No, that's a good thing. I think auctions are I don't have a lot of knowledge. This is an ignorant comment, but I think that 95% of the time you're probably not going to find jack. Is that correct or not correct?
The ones in Austin, 95% of the time you will find jack. 95% of the 95% you won't win jack because you're going to put a bid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yes, they have amazing items in at least the Austin ones.
You can't get them.
You can't get them until you win the bid book or you're physically there on a Saturday for like 3 hours trying to bid on something. It's just not my thing.
I don't like that because I feel like you get all the items plucked away.
Yes, but if it takes literally like 20 seconds of my time to go, okay, item number 57, I'm going to look at the bid book. The bid book's at $20, and I know that that's a $150 item. I'll put 21, right? And I'll put my name, my number, boom, I'm out of there. So it might take 1 minute of my time to, it's kind of like a lottery scratch off. I completely say do not do those in real life. Trust me, I've witnessed so much bad stuff that comes from that. Like you do not want to get into like scratch off mode, but essentially it's kind of like that, like except it's a little bit more controlled. And I like to bid on multiple things, especially if a day is not going my way and I don't find something in the thrift store like on a Saturday, for example, and I'm like, all right, still got like 5 minutes to kill. E-money's like walking around. Like I'll go to the auction section. I will look at certain items and I'll be like, all right, I'm going to put in like 5 bids today on 5 different items. So it takes literally like no time and I could win one of those items. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, check out all rolling racks and bins that have just come from the back. This is where you can find big money. And everybody across the USA, this is the same system everywhere. They're all rolling out stuff from the back on bins or like rolling clothing racks. You've got to look at those things. That's so key, right? Raiken, like a Savers or a Goodwill, when you see that, that's the freshest of the freshest stuff, right?
I don't see a bin rolling. You know what I see?
A carriage rolling?
I see money, man. I see money just flying, man. Do you know the, can I share with you an interesting story?
Sure.
I got beat by a brand new subscriber for $100. Really glad he beat me to it, but I made a dumb mistake. You know what I did?
What'd you do?
There were 3 bins next back to back to back to each other. And you want to know what I did? I went into one bin and I saw some like books, and I just started looking at all the books. Never make the mistake of just finding something in a bin and just sticking there unless it's like gold. Always scan all 3 bins first and then make your decision, because I was in the bins looking at stupid freaking novels. Why am I looking at novels? Steve, you've been a reseller for 5 years. Why are you looking at fantasy novels? I don't know. I was looking at fantasy novels for some reason. He comes up right next to me, no lie, and pulls out a freaking anniversary Monopoly game, $120. Pulls out another game, like $40. This dude has been in the game for like 3 weeks. Here's Raiken profit 5 years. Just, it's funny, you know. Everyone makes mistakes, but if you see bins, scan them really quick and then make a decision, because you never know what's in there.
You're right. Here's the funniest part about it, right? My next bullet point says scan the sections far before coming up to them. It's the next thing on the list, dude.
It couldn't have gone to a better guy. It couldn't have gone to a better guy, but I'm just thinking to myself, how much of a noob mistake could I have made? It was crazy.
It's funny.
You live and you learn, you know?
Yeah. We should join that person's green room. I'm just kidding.
Today's one of those shows, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's good.
Definitely an awesome thrift battle coming down next week, though. It's, you know, it gets a little bit harder because schedules are getting kind of crunched and crazy, and the thrift battles now have to be very condensed, and I am looking for particular people to battle particular people. So the meeting times and that specific hour is so precious and very hard to get between the last of the last people that need to battle it out. So that's where we are now. That's the reason why we have this show today, is because it was really hard to get these two people that I wanted together for this one show. Anyways, so if you see an item, this is something I do. Okay, this is not noob, but this is something I still to this day, I'm like, oh, why did I do that, right? When you see an item, right, look for the price first. Don't just start scanning it and getting enamored by the item, like, oh, it's so cool, like blah, blah, blah. And then you flip the shoe over, or you look inside the shoe, $39.99, like, oh, damn.
Because you just wasted like a minute.
Oh, exactly. You're getting so crazy, and you're like, oh my God, look, E-Money, look what I found. Oh.
Question. Yeah. What about just throwing everything in your carriage and then assessing it afterwards?
You can do that, but I'm typically talking about the second pass. You find something maybe amazing sometimes on the second pass. Okay. And then you're like, now you've done your first pass and you've picked up all the goods, but your second pass, you're finding extra goods that you might have looked past because you were going so fast in the first place. But yeah, I always find myself still to this day, I was like, dude, I get so wrapped up sometimes in like, oh my God, profitable items, super awesome, like hunter boots or something like that. And then I grab them, like they're such good condition, like checking them, bending them. And then I look in and it's like $50. I'm like, why didn't I just look at the price first? Because I never would have even messed with it, you know, because clearly I know what the item is. Like I walked up to it first. So
that's when you rip off the sticker, bro. There ain't no price on that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm so kidding.
You bring it to the back and they're like $74.99 since the sticker's gone. So here's something interesting. And if you're at a standstill on deciding after doing research, your own research, post a picture of it in a Facebook group that you like to mess with, like whether it be Thrifting and Reseller World or Green Room or whatever, whoever you're a part of, you know, if you're on the verge of like, I don't know if this is worth it, you know, put it to a group real quick. And the larger the group, the faster the response will be. But also the more tight-knit a group and the more family a group will be, the more honest that answer might be as well. So you have to consider a couple factors. So yeah, think about those kind of things, because those are things that you can do while you're in a store. And then definitely know your worth. Like, do not get into items unless that solid market is there. Like if the solid market's not there, like what Raiken was talking about 45 minutes ago, he just left an item down there and he's like, okay, market, you know, I'm not going to hustle this thing because I know I'm not going to like bring it to point B. This is very important to like know your worth. All right. And I think a lot of people that get into the reselling game, especially as beginner levels, they're going to probably churn and burn for a while. And that's no fun, right? We want you guys to get home runs. That's the reason why we made these guides. That's why we created our room. That's why I make videos, why Ray can make videos, because we want to make sure that you guys succeed. It's super important. So do not get into items. If you're sitting there going, I know I'm worth $10 an hour, for example. Don't get into items that yield you $3,
Mm.
right? That take
Don't fall into that mistake.
20 minutes, that take 30 minutes a piece to list and check out for holes. And don't get into these items. Like if you're worth $10, try to find items that yield you $10 or more, or a $20 item. Like look for things that really reward you for your time. So anyways, we're almost to the end. Here's an interesting thing here, because this is thrift tips and everything like that. Look, this is a really big piece of the puzzle. If you have a good thrift day, okay, hear me out right now. Stop at a convenience store, grab your favorite drink or something of choice, and celebrate that stuff, right? Like go somewhere. I don't care if you get a juice. I don't care if you get a wheatgrass shot, a Doppio, a Red Bull, a Monster, or something, even a quick chocolate milk. I don't care. But celebrate it, right? Raiken, the smallest things in life, you're reinforcing something good. When you have a bad day, tighten up on the wallet, right? But if you have a good day, spend a little bit of that money, right? Reward yourself, because that's only going to reinforce you to go out again and go, what worked so well that day? Because I want another drink, or I want some tacos, or I want that awesome lunch that I bought myself. What worked? I want to repeat that, right, Raiken?
Man, if I had those, if I had a Taco Deli in my area, man, I would be a millionaire thrifter because I would be so rewarded.
Yeah, treat yourself is what Nick ATX says, who I still haven't met to this day. I need to meet this person. What'd you say, Raiken?
I was curious if anybody's ever gone to Taco Deli in the comments.
Oh man, I'm pretty sure a bunch have.
I don't know why that place isn't freaking international. It's that good.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. So
like really good.
Yeah, like super good. So I said, like, grab your favorite drink from a convenience store, get a lunch at a really cheap place or something like that. Reward yourself for staying focused and crushing your day, or crushing your 2 hours or something like that. Another thing you want to do in order to continue good habits is share your triumphs with other people. Like get on Facebook groups and show what you bought and show what you hope to sell it for, and share the goodness, right? Because there's no reason to hoard things. That mentality, like, okay, I'm going to tell someone I got a Monopoly game and I'm going to expose it to a room that's 50,000 big. Now 50,000 people become my competition. No, they don't. Like it really takes a very, very small percentage of people. Here's something that's interesting. 8 years ago or something, my stock trader friend, or maybe it was 6 years ago, he was like, dude, you're making videos on YouTube or something like that. Like, don't you worry about people competing with you in Austin, especially that watch your videos, like competing with you? And I'm like, dude, do you understand? To affect me and my money, you would have to literally pick the same thrift stores before I went to them, wake up at the same time before me. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to affect, that's what has to fall perfectly in line for you to snag the item before I get there. Like all these things, and have the same kind of drive and everything as I do to affect me. That's the reason why I'm so gracious, and that's why we're so gracious with our information, is because just like Gary Vaynerchuk says, like, I can give you all the recipes to success. I know that 95% of you guys won't do anything with it, right? That's so true, though. It really is, and that's the reason why the hoarding mentality, that makes no sense whatsoever. So there's plenty to go around, is what Nick ATX says. So many ways to make money, says Leah. What else, Raiken? We're going to close this show here in about 2 minutes, but what else do you want to talk about with reward and continue? How to reinforce a good behavior?
I don't know if I have anything else to touch on with that subject. I mean, just appreciate the rewards, and there's so many opportunities out there, but you really got to be having fun and enjoying yourself. And to kind of go back to your point of, balancing out your thrift stores, instead of like stressing yourself out, going to like 20 of them, like just have fun and enjoy yourself. Like you're working for yourself. You're out there hustling, making money. You don't have to like over stress and try to be competing with the next guy on Facebook or YouTube, all because they made 5,000 or 10,000. Like go out, have fun. You know what I mean? Enjoy yourself. It's, it's a lot of fun, but you don't want to go overboard,
Yeah, here's Matt Jackson. It says, I'm in your area. There's definitely plenty to go around. So maybe you're right, Raiken. Maybe I do live in a very skewed bell curve type Austin, Texas, thrifty, like heaven kind of place. I don't know, though. I don't know. You seem to think that. I seem to think people in Florida have the most outrageous garage sale, estate sale. Have you ever seen a Florida map from like all these people that live there, and it's It's literally like dot stacked on each other's dots. Like you can't even spread it out enough because all the dots are just like all over each other. It's the most crazy cheddar map I've ever seen in my entire life. And every now and then we get to see it in the green room because people post their yard sale treasure map stuff. Especially when it gets garage sale season, like every time on like Friday evenings, people post their maps like, what am I seeing? And man, the Florida ones are always just red. I mean, just red dots over stacked. I could not believe it. Ours are definitely not stacked, but we have some good options. But I get jealous when I see that kind of stuff. And I have thrifted in Naples and Cape Coral, and I can vouch that it's like literally garage sale after garage sale after garage sale after garage sale. Like barely travel a city block and you're at the next one, like every single time. It's so close. So yeah. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed the video, right? Definitely pick up the guide. One last tout for the most amazing guide ever that we will be charging $1.50 for in about a minute. But definitely get this free guide. But no, we're totally joking. Like it's a free guide. Go check it out, okay?
And also, after you get the free guide, go down below and smash that like button. We've had over 120 people watching live tonight, and we're super grateful for you guys. But hit that like button. It lets this video kind of get out to more people, helps more people. And, you know, we're a huge advocate for helping you guys out and just bringing a community together. I believe it makes us all stronger. So smash the like button and, yeah, Chris, finish it off, man.
I think we're good to go. We're planning an amazing meetup in June. I'm slightly stressed out now because I got to top the last meetup, which was pretty incredible. So now I got to start working on that like literally tomorrow. Like I'm physically going to certain places and getting some things in line. But outside of that, you know, still having a great time reselling, doing hot shots, filming videos, road to 200, all kinds of cool stuff going down on my channel. Go check out Raiken's channel as well. Raiken Profit, we all know who he is, but check out his channel. Make sure you subscribe to him. And if you want to be part of that Connecticut, what's the Facebook group that they need to join real quick? Because they might not see this in time, but I might hear it right now. Connecticut Facebook Meetup. What is it called?
Give me 1 second. I'll link up the. If you want to keep talking for a second.
If you're around Connecticut right now, we're going to get this thing in the feed in 1 second. He's going to post it. I want you to go to that group. If you live within an hour of this place, you probably want to go meet up. So there it is right there. It's in the feed right now. I'll see if I can.
I'll send you a link of it.
Yeah, I got it.
Send you the link. Okay, cool.
Cool. That's pretty much it, guys. We're out of here. We'll see you next Wednesday on the most amazing thrift battle ever. It's getting down to the wire, and we have an amazing show next week. I'm telling you right now, you do not want to miss next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Raiken's channel. It's going to be awesome. We'll see you then, guys. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Peace.